and Lords podcast.
Welcome to the Lord's Minute, our quick hit video series where we talk about all the biggest happenings in gaming and beyond. I'm your host, Ty Swenson, writer for Lords of Gaming. And back with me again is Lord King. We're here talking about the second to last episode of She-Hulk as it finally happened. Another lawyer has hit the scene as Daredevil made a splashing entrance into the She-Hulk series in more ways than one. King, we're going to kick it off to you to break it down with everyone's favorite hero, LeapFrog.
Yo, it was incredible to see that they're taking John Byrne's comic book run with She-Hulk and doing everything that the book did. The book reinvigorated the character, changed her from a one-dimensional character to a four-dimensional character because she's always breaking the fourth wall, and made her very interesting. At the same time, the feminist movement is going on and women is striving for equality in the world. The book was a reflection of that, giving female empowerment. She's not like the Hulk. She's not living in the Hulk world. And I think the series captured that in a nutshell, to be honest with you. But we always wondered about her powers as a lawyer. And we fail to realize she just passed the bar. She just, became a lawyer when she was at her other firm. And then, she was looking for big raises and stuff like that. And that wasn't happening on that end. And, now she got over to this big firm and she's only hired because she's She-Hulk. So she relied on a lot of different utensils to win in the courtroom. But then when Matt Murdock shows up, and he legally runs circles around her inside the courtroom, she's like, what? Like, did that just happen? And, he's super enough to know exactly who she is. He's suave enough to know that he's in another superhero's town and not to step on her toes. And he sends over a drink at the bar. And they were having a little moment there. And if people don't know the She-Hulk comic books, she's a highly sexual character. So, as they say, the Hulk rage, well, she has a rage too. So she is, even as Jennifer Walters, she's flirting with Daredevil, and Daredevil's trying to give us some insight on being a superhero while also being a lawyer, to take over outside of the law if the law doesn't work on our side. And she's listening, and it's kind of the same thing that Bruce was saying, but Bruce was telling her to be a hero and leave her world. What Daredevil said is you can have the best of both worlds. So her willingness to listen to him and the fact that she's attracted to him on a professional level was something incredible. Then she gets the call, and LeapFrog is like, help me, as Daredevil is attacking him. So we find out she puts on the suit that we all been dying to see, and the suit looks fantastic on her whole purple and white suit. And she shows up, sneakers and all, and she takes on Daredevil, and Daredevil doesn't disappoint. He outmaneuvers her. He does a whole bunch of superhero stuff, but She-Hulk doesn't disappoint either. She's new at this, but she was able to subdue him and find out exactly who he was. Took his mask off really quickly, and I think that was an aha moment for her. The aha moment for her was, wow, this guy is doing this, and he's a lawyer. He's a superhero, and he's a lawyer. And then they went to the warehouse to take down LeapFrog, and it's so much satire that's there. I must say this. LeapFrog is the dude when they first go to go see the tailor.
Yes, that's right.
He's
I was
the
going to say
dude
that.
that's walking out.
Yep.
Me and you agonized over this in the background. Who the hell was that? Because we knew it was an Easter egg that will come back at some point in time. And I went back to our previous DMs, and I was like, yeah, that's the back of his head. That's definitely the dude. And, I'm glossing over a lot of things because, I want my co-host to actually, talk about certain things as well. And, they team up in this team up mode, and they was trying to see who was going to take the lead. Right. And Daredevil is on foreign ground because he's from New York. And he's like, well, I have the expertise in this. And she's like, well, I do this too. And he's like, no, you don't. You're playing around at it, you're dabbling it, and you're not actually putting your feet in it.
Hmm.
And they actually successfully save somebody from the warehouse. They actually take down LeapFrog, which
And
is
his
funny
his
within
hench
itself.
goons.
What's funny within itself, when he was saying the story in the beginning,
Hmm.
I'm like, he's not a superhero. He's an actual villain. A lot of the guys that you saw that was introduced into this show were villains. The only two heroes that you saw was Wong. He wasn't
Hmm.
introduced, and Daredevil, he's introduced. I love this purple and the yellow and red suit.
Hmm.
The yellow and red suit signifies the beginning of Daredevil when he first was in the Marvel universe. He was yellow and red, and then they went to the traditional red, and then they went to the black and red, and then the all black, and then back.
Yeah.
But again, to see that flair, and to know that only the stylist can do that, and the fact that we saw the intelligentsia and what they whole plan was to do with her, but also to have Daredevil do the walk of shame. And the most commonplace things that are going on now is when her paralegal comes in and she says, hey, I see a guy dressed up in a devil suit, doing the walk of shame. And they're joking around and they're laughing. But again, this is commonplace. They're making heroes commonplace as
Yeah.
more as you can see it. So when they introduce these heroes, there's not any question that this is normalcy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the biggest reveal in this whole show was when her paralegal said and jumped out with the Wolverine claws and said, let's pretty you up.
Hmm.
And I said, hold on, wait a second. I rewound that. And she did just do that and
Very
said,
specifically.
ha. And she
Hmm.
displayed. So that means that there is a Wolverine in that world. Is it Hugh Jackman? We don't know. But
Right.
there is a Wolverine that is persistent within that world, and so is a lot of other heroes and villains. So because she breaks the fourth wall at the end again and she lets it go, is it a Red Hulk?
Yeah. When she said Red Hulk, I'm like, oh, Red
I'm
She-Hulk.
like, this is ridiculous. So yeah, I'll let you fill in the gaps on all other stuff.
Yep.
And it was I'm glad they did it how they wanted to do it.
Hmm.
I'm
True.
glad it wasn't a super serious Daredevil tone, and it was
Yeah.
more of a jokey, sensual Daredevil that plays into the Daredevil Elektra stuff that I used to
Hmm.
get out of Frank Miller books, where Daredevil was a ladies' man, uh, because his powers actually lean
Hmm.
towards the ability to touch and understand things more than the average man. So he is the man without fear. I actually like what they did with it. So I got a little bit of Frank Miller and John Byrne all in one series. I'm good with it.
Yeah. So I'll start with the last bit and kind of work backwards in that I'm glad that the Walk of Shame with Daredevil was presented in such a healthy manner of sexual relationships from an adult perspective because he was doing the Walk of Shame, but like he was whistling, cheery, happy. He's like, "Morning, how's it going?" So like that was very happy for me to see. And this entire episode. I was almost grinning ear to ear the entire time because of everything that was happening. Um, and as cliche as it sounds, and we'll see how the final episode shapes up, I didn't want this to be my favorite episode because then it'll boil down to, well, yeah, of course it's the favorite Daredevil popped in. But there were so many good moments and um, great plot development that happened in here. We had talked before on, okay, what's gonna be the over the edge point for Jennifer to finally start committing to actually fighting crime outside of the courtroom. And Daredevil was that catalyst we saw after the confrontation fight between them and him giving, the sage advice, echoing Bruce, but being like, hey, like this is possible. You see, I'm a lawyer as well, and I do both things, fighting in the courtroom and on the streets.
Yep.
And for her to be like, you know what? Yeah, of donning that super suit and charging head first, and to being giddy, not only to, try and impress Matt Murdock, but also being like, yeah, I can be a superhero too. And I love the camaraderie between the two. The chemistry was there from frame one, and as you mentioned, I love that this Matt Murdock is completely different from when we last
Yep.
left him in the Netflix series. He's more cheery. He has more charisma about him. He's not doom and gloom. And they even make a joke later on of him brooding on the lily pad sign, but that's just not his
Hmm.
personality 24/7. And in the court case with LeapFrog and Luke Jacobson, um, he does echo that he still has on the forefront of his mind protecting his loved ones and how important a secret identity is, which is something that he had difficulty coming to grips with much of Netflix. He definitely suffered from the well, I have to forever be alone. I can't be with anyone, can't have anyone
Hmm.
close to me. But now for him to essentially take a step into the light and more optimistic side of having a healthy balance about himself, that we do have grave responsibilities that we need to take care of, but that can't consume us if we are going to be heroes to everyone, big or small. Um, so I like that lesson that they were pushing forward. I'm glad that they or how they got in that legal court case with LeapFrog. LeapFrog suit malfunctioned, but it was user error, and of course he got the suit from Luke, so that legal thing went out.
I also liked how they brought up the Sokovia Accords and how it
Yes, yes, that
was
was big. They were.
repealed.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, so those officially have been repealed. But Daredevil, schmooving his way through the courtroom, won the case, of course. And Luke and Jennifer did make it up at the end after Jennifer had to save Luke from LeapFrog kidnapping him. Um, but when we get through the rescuing after Daredevil and Jennifer was like, "Oh yeah, we're on the same side," like your client is the reason we're in this mess.
Exactly.
Um, and that when we went the Daredevil way first, half an hour sneaking around. When they went to that hallway, I was like, it's the hallway. And then
Hallway
and
scene.
they were setting it up for it to be like, okay, this one's break, and then Jennifer like smashes through when you thought it was really about to go down. I thought that was
Yeah.
classic. It was a good blend between the two.
Because we got enough of the Daredevil fight and we knew how this fight was
Mm-hmm.
pretty much gonna go.
Yep. Yep, yep. But that transpired of, her doing her smash thing, and it's like a classic comic shot of they enter into the den of the villains, and they're like, oh, She-Hulk, it's this horn guy. Like, what are we gonna do? Like, Tadpole 2, what are we gonna do? And Jennifer just like, yeah, yeah. Do you really want to do? That was just like, oh, that's so comics, and I loved it.
Yep.
Um, so that transpired, and then they've been setting little things here and there, the little lean-ins, like, oh, your heart's beating kind of fast. Jennifer's
Yep.
like, oh, like he's doing it for me, and I'm like, he's doing it for me too. Let's get it. And then I loved how she wasted no time. It's like, are you going to New York tomorrow? I was like, yeah, I can get you dinner when I come. Nah, we're gonna
Nah,
skip
let
all
it go,
that.
let it go.
uh,
You
so
know what I
that,
liked
mhm.
and what I appreciate, sorry to cut you off,
Yeah, go
uh,
ahead.
that he liked her.
Yes, yes.
That, and I guess that leads to a little bit of validation for Jen
hmm
because he was thoroughly uh infatuated with the thought of her and not
hmm
the thought of She-Hulk, which was really
Exactly.
good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I appreciate that. He saw equally the charm within her as Jen and as She-Hulk, and I very much appreciate that, and appreciate the maturity of these two adults hitting it all off, enjoying working together and whatnot, and basically sealing the deal toward the end in a healthy and safe manner. Um, and I was with Jennifer. We had a fourth wall break moment of where that sun was setting. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, like I'm good. And then it kept going, and we see Daredevil walking off. I'm like, okay. And
Okay.
then Jennifer's walking in, is like, y'all still here? I'm like, yeah. Why are we still here? And we get into the gala, which I was like, oh, well, the gala. Like they were playing up on the audience's thoughts of they're probably thinking, oh, like this episode's still going. So
Hmm.
we get to the gala, we see her in her nice dress by Luke, looking stunning. Um, and she gets to the gala in which forgot to mention earlier Mr. Slimy with the new Wakanda spear is also at the gala, in which both you and I that like something is off with that guy. He tried to get Jennifer to help him with a legal case of Wakanda wants the
Hmm.
spear back that was auctioned off because of the colonizers stealing their stuff. And then he tried to get too smooth. At first, I thought he was gonna whip it out when he was like,
Oh
"Yeah,
my
I got
god.
this Wakanda spear here," and
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
"There's something not right with him." And then he was
yeah.
at the gala. We just see him at the beginning when he's waving. I'm like, "There's something not right with him," and we don't see him again. And then she gets the female lawyer of the year award, but it's not just her. I guess it's every female in the house.
That was a little inside joke, and you know how women in the market,
Hmm.
the business world, aren't taken as seriously as the men. And
Right.
he did say, you know, a little offhanded, backhanded compliment to the female of the
Yep.
year,
Yep.
you know, in the beginning. And my wife looked at me like, "What the hell was that?" And I was just like, "I don't know, but
Yeah.
it seems like it's setting up for something stupid." And then it
Yep.
was like 10 women up there,
Yep.
and it was kind of degrading within itself, but you know
Hmm.
she didn't see it as a degrading moment. Actually, she saw it as a real achievement to, you know, say, you know, because she hasn't been in this space that long,
Yep.
and you know, to thank her parents. So you know, it's something that was you see, she's so naive, she's still at the
Hmm.
naive space where she doesn't understand somebody's making a fool of her,
Yep.
somebody's taking advantage of her. And then I guess the intelligentsia stuff
Mm.
pops up at that same moment. And the level of anger, because remember, she was the butt of people jokes in college, I mean, in school, you know, in college too, you know, so all the way through, she's been like little Jen who can, little Jen who did this, or little Jen who's always behind the eight ball. And, you know, the wedding accentuated that aspect of it. And right now she's being acknowledged for work that she's done, and she feels accomplished, and she's in this wonderful dress that looks fantastic, and she's at the top of the world. She just slept with somebody that actually likes her, and you know, that's in the same profession, so her life feels like it's rolling on all cylinders. And to have that stuff crash down on her, for her to have a mental break at that moment, and to know how Bruce feels at that
Hmm.
moment when she's looking around and everybody is screaming, because those are the same people that had adulation for her now have terror in their eyes and fear, and that is directed exactly towards her.
Hmm.
And my wife said at the end, I don't know if she's looking at the screen, because I said that she broke the fourth wall when she looked at the screen, like, what the hell
Yeah.
did I do?
Yeah.
And she said, no, I think she's looking at someone, because she said she recognizes the difference when she looks at the screen and looks at someone. So me and her has a knee bet for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
yeah, we'll see. When that scene broke down and her, at first I was like, "Yep, well deserved. Just tear it down. This is taking too long."
yeah.
And when the alarms came on, and I guess that triggered the crowds to start running because I was like, "Why y'all running? Like y'all saw what was up there." And I felt like this differed from everything else that Jen had to suffer with as a breaking point because it was setting up as, we'll show you who She-Hulk really is. And at first she's like, "Oh, like my identity is not a secret."
Yeah.
But to her, those moments that were being posted and everything, especially the bedroom scene with Josh, it's like nothing at all is ever sacred in her life anymore. The one time that she thought she was safe in a vulnerable private moment now is being blared to the public once again, and that she was actually being taken advantage of and made to look like a fool, and all this other nonsense. I can see how it was a sent her over the edge, but even then, when she broke out and she saw, intelligentsia goons in the corner and she chased after them and she had one up, I still feel like it was a controlled rage. Like she wasn't
Right.
just raging. Like she immediately drops him when, by the way, I don't know how, but the anti-super squad was there like that. I'm like, how are they on speed
Well,
dial?
it was a setup,
Right,
you
exactly.
know,
I'm like,
throughout
there's
the
no
whole
way
way.
they were
Yeah,
called. They were already there waiting and prepped.
exactly.
So it's a terrible situation that she finds herself in, and where next episode picks up. I think to me, when she looked at the screen, I thought she was also breaking the fourth wall because it was a moment of clarity
Yeah.
of from her to the audience of like, oh crap.
Wow, I
Um,
really stepped in it.
yeah, yeah. So we'll see. Again, all this setup and everything, Intelligentsia, Hulk King, we still don't have a face to a name of who the Grand
I'm going
Mastermind
with the
is.
leader. I'm
But
going with
yeah,
the
yeah.
leader.
Yeah, so we have the leader as our bets. And We're gonna have to pull for homegirl Jen. It's gonna be a crazy last episode to wrap everything up and set her up in the future of the MCU. We had a whole lot of drops, Wolverine references, Red Hulk
Yeah.
references,
Yep.
and all these teeterings that have been setting up into something more. And I'm very excited to see where we go from here.
Definitely. Like I said, every week I'm fully surprised and I'm thoroughly entertained.
Mhm, mhm. But this has been the Lord's Minute. Thank you so much for joining us. We're here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at lordsofgaming.net. I'm Ty Swenson, here with Lord King, and this has been the Lord's Minute.
Peace.